Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Monday, March 27th, 2023 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I find balance and harmony in myself. Woo! So over this weekend we had Mars move into Cancer, and that's definitely one of the things we're going to look into. I do want to look at this week ahead. This week ahead is not a major mover and shifter, which is great because March has had so much going on. We're actually finishing up March this week. We will have Venus and Uranus in conjunction this Thursday, and we're probably going to feel that build. And that, along with the other astro, could get a little aggro. In our relationships, we may find triggers around money, around worth, just even around being present, being human on this earth. So do be aware of that feeling building and coming into play later this week. But that's the biggest deal. So that being said, let's look at today and let's look at Mars in Cancer. So Mars in Cancer is kind of a treat. Just because we have had Mars in the sign of Gemini since late August, and it's about like 7-8 months that it's spent in the sign of Gemini. It's such a long time, and was so strongly mentalized that this is kind of a break in some ways. But Mars in Cancer can hype up our feeling cells. In fact, we can become somewhat feeling reactive, emotionally reactive with Mars in Cancer. Mars, our planet of action, the planet that can bring our ire or frustrations to the surface. Mars is also our passions and our desires, but a lot of times we will feel those frustrations where we can't access those passions and those desires. So keep that awareness around Cancer energy. Now, Cancer is interesting because it is super, super strongly emotional. Cancer is meant to be a feeling energy. Cancer is meant to nurture. Cancer can be very mothering in its nature. And so we might find ourselves taking action in regards to nurturing, in regards to mothering. But that can take its toll if we are overdoing and not in balance with ourselves. So do keep that in mind if you are a person who finds yourself being nurturing of others. Keep it in balance, and make sure that you are also turning that nurturing onto yourself. If not, those frustrations may rise and you may become emotionally reactive. This is also a really interesting time for digging into family and root ancestral stuff, because so many times we have covert actions or unconscious actions that come from our family line, known or unknown. And so with Mars in Cancer, you may be like, well, why do I do that thing? Oh, here this is in the family line. And we can make conscientious shifts with this energy. So that's beautiful. We have about 2 months of Mars hanging out in Cancer. Mars will be moving into Leo May 20th. So 2 months to dig in and hopefully find some nurturing energy. But watch when we have emotional peaks, or watch when we have some really strong astro, which we have some interesting things going on right now, that you may become more reactive. Watch for those reactions. And again, keep in mind, if you are feeling reactions, chances are there are places where you need to tend to yourself that you have been ignoring. So today we have the moon in Gemini. So the moon in Gemini is replacing the mental energy that Mars in Gemini had been bringing. Moon in Gemini bringing forth our thoughts. And it's always an interesting thing to be aware of our thoughts and then what happens with our emotions from our thoughts. A lot of times they are super connected. So keep your awareness of that today, especially because we have another thought energy being hyped up as Mercury and Jupiter are building into a conjunction. Now, Mercury and Jupiter are not going to reach their conjunction until 11:50 p.m. Pacific time. But Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So Jupiter in Aries is like expanding the Aries energy, which can also be reactive. Aries is a product of Mars. So here we have that reactiveness. And then we have Mercury coming to meet up with Jupiter. So our mental energies through the day are going to start swirling. We add to that the moon in Gemini, and then we just shift that over to how we then can translate our mentalisms, our mind stirrings into emotional energy. And so again, with Mars in Cancer, we want to be super aware of how this is all feeding one another, because this can like easily turn into a thought tornado. This can easily turn into inclement weather very fast within yourself. And this is why energy mantra, balance and harmony within yourself, that involves being aware of your thoughts and how your thoughts are turning to weather, turning to emotions, turning to things moving through you anytime, but specifically in this energy. Mercury aligned with Jupiter can also be super potent, though, in recognizing various things about yourself. It's so funny. I keep feeling called to this card. I pulled this card from the Rose Oracle. I've pulled it for myself now twice, and I pulled it just before, and again pulled it for myself, but I keep feeling it. It's the Sub Rosa card, and it's about things being hidden in plain sight. And a lot of who we are is actually hidden in plain sight within ourselves. And so just keep that in mind, that you may have these sudden understandings of yourself, like little things that have come about, like, oh. And this Mercury-Jupiter conjunction can bring about this understanding on a deeper layer. So again, kind of feeling like we're looking a little deeper at things today in this energy. Although Aries is not generally about going so deep, some of the other astros were like, hey, we got a little depth to climb through. The moon in Gemini is making the rest of the connections through the day. The moon in Gemini is actually connecting to Mercury and Jupiter. So again, super strong mental energy. Be aware, today may be one of those days where things, kind or unkind, may just roll off the tongue. So be aware of what you are speaking into the universe and to others. Be aware of what's happening in your mind as well. Our mind is constantly working, but like, is it working for you, with you, or is it like just pulling out all the plans? Because I often have those tornado mind moments that pull out all the good that my mind has done. Moon in Gemini will also square Neptune later in the day, and so we may have some confusion come up. A lot of times those squares, when we have the moon in Gemini squaring Neptune, thank you, hi Miles, Mahalo's agreeing, it can bring up confusion, it can bring up misunderstanding, even just misunderstanding between you and the universe. So it keeps coming back to like coming within, finding that clarity within yourself, finding that clarity, that balance, that harmony within yourself to move forward with and from. Last thing that I want to say is all this Aries energy that we have going on right now, it's a little intense, right? So just keep that in mind. That's at the top of the cards, the intensity. It is meant to move us, but move conscientiously, right? Bring your consciousness with you. And I also love that hopefully how it's helping move you, me, us, is closer to our truer selves with this rebirth energy. I'm sorry, I just elbowed poor Mahalo in the head. I have the receptivity card. Mars and Cancer. I love that for Mars and Cancer. Where do you need to let yourself sit back and receive instead of that overdoing, that over nurturing? So keeping some of that in mind in regards to your actional energies. And speaking of hidden in plain sight, we have the Miser card. There's definitely some well hidden, well dug energies coming up to the surface, things long held onto that are wanting to be revealed at this time. And again, I think that this is part of that rebirth energy and can help you, regardless of whether you judge it as good or bad within yourself, it will help you embrace deeper parts of yourself. So, eclipse readings. We have an eclipse happening on April 19th, 20th, our first eclipse of this year. So you can book an eclipse reading. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. I have a limited amount of spots because my schedule is just very busy right now. So if you would like to have an eclipse reading, it would be best to approach me now about this so we can get you on the calendar. So email me for that or any other reading. Besides that, the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and honor your values. Namaste.